Hey guys, my name is Spencer. Welcome to Sphinx Reads. Today I will be reviewing Exile by Shannon, which is the second book in the Keeper of the Lost Cities series. Before I get into the actual review, I'm going to read to you the blurb that's on Goodreads. I believe that's also what is in the back of the book. Because as I thought of how to describe this story without actually spoiling what happens, it was pretty hard. So I'm just going to read this. So it says here, Sophie Foster thought she was safe, settled into her home at Havenfield, surrounded by friends, and using her unique telepathic abilities to train Sylvanie, the first female alicorn, it's kind of like a unicorn, ever seen in the Lost Cities. Her life finally seems to be coming together. But Sophie's kidnappers are still out there, and when Sophie discovers new messages and clues from the mysterious Black Swan group, she's forced to take a terrifying risk, one that puts everyone in incredible danger. As long-buried secrets rise to the surface, it's once again up to Sophie to uncover hidden memories before someone close to her is lost forever. Man, I'm already getting emotional. In this second book in the Keeper of the Lost Cities series, Sophie must journey to the darkest corners of her luminous world in a sequel that will leave you breathless for more. And man, I cannot give a more accurate representation of what this story is about and just what to expect, what to feel. I just love this book. Before I actually explain why I love this book, let me just say that even though this book had so many annoying flaws, things that didn't sit well with me, like I didn't like, and even though I've read a lot of great books so far this year, this is probably my favorite read of 2021 so far. Like, all the emotions that this book evoked in me were just, oh my goodness, this book made me feel so many things. Okay, but before I get to why I love this book, I want to talk first about why you may not like this book. I kind of like to do that in all of my reviews, but for this one specifically, I'm trying my best to really list out what you may not appreciate about this book, because the first book, Keeper of the Lost Cities, is kind of a mixed bag for a lot of people. Some people just DNF it, they don't like it because of the writing, or because it's too cheesy, or because our main character is a stereotypical main protagonist with nothing really new and it doesn't have a lot of diversity. So if you're trying out this second book to see whether or not you'll continue on with this series, I want to help you out with that to decide whether you're going to pick this up or just completely abandon the series and find something else that's more suited to your taste. So first of all, probably one of the most asked questions, or probably one of the questions that readers of the first book have about the second book, is whether or not this book still has the part where Sophie releases a breath she didn't know she was holding, or I'm not sure if it's in the first book, but it's definitely in the second. She shed tears she didn't know she was shedding. And the answer to that is yes. There is still that. It occurs, I believe, 3 or 4 times. And honestly, I was so annoyed by that. It happened, I think the first 2 times were in the first half, and then just like 1 or 2 times in the second half. And honestly, I'm like, okay, like, can you just please get rid of this? I hope someone told Shannon Messenger earlier on when she was starting out this series that readers are not a big fan of that. Okay, maybe younger readers would be okay with it, but typically those who read more critically are just not the biggest fan of the breath that you unconsciously hold. So yes, there is still that. Number 2 is the main character, Sophie, kind of like in the first book, but more so in the second book, is kind of dumb, is a nicer way of putting it. She just does so many things that I'm like, you have to think this through, Sophie. Like, you don't just do that because I feel like I have to do this, and she does it anyway, and she puts so many lives in danger in the process. But of course, this being kind of a kid's story, it drives the plot forward, which makes me think that this is a more plot-driven story. I just feel like Sophie just did those things for the sake of moving the plot forward from a reading perspective. I said in my review for the first book that I feel like I'm Sophie, but even though I still feel the same, it doesn't mean that I necessarily like her. Like, I can see myself doing some crazy things because of reasons, but I don't necessarily feel attached to Sophie, if that makes sense. So if the main character is one of your main hiccups for book 1, then expect the same thing to persist in book 2. The third reason you may not like this, which I think is kind of a nitpick, is the build-up for this story is rather slow. In fact, I think for most of the book, there's a very somber, slow pacing that reveals multiple layers. But unlike the first book where we immediately have action, like the first chapter, I believe, where Fitz picks up Sophie and they gone to this great adventure immediately, there's not exactly that kind of feeling for this book. Even though I was enjoying the story at the beginning, I was a little worried that this might be the point where I'll be like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. The story also felt very repetitive. Like within this story, like the story of the second book, there is something that just keeps happening and happening, and it just really feels like it happens because the plot needs to move forward. I kind of want to describe this as a series of unfortunate events that require medical attention, because this book is pretty much Sophie getting sick or getting in danger, and then she has to recover and meet Elwyn, and Elwyn needs to heal her, or they have to solve something in order for Sophie to be able to function properly again. Like, it was almost ridiculous. Book 1 was already kind of like this, but book 2 was just a whole new level of Sophie requiring medical attention. I was chatting with one of my friends on Goodreads on our group called Middle Grade Madness, who said that they thought that this was kind of like a filler book, like it didn't really accomplish anything or reveal much. And the more I thought of it, the more I actually could see that. I agree. This book is kind of like a bonus extra episode that's a little bit of an extension to book 1. I don't think you should skip to book 3 necessarily, because there are some things that are revealed in book 2, but overall there's not really a ton. Overall, this book felt like an extension of the setup that book 1 was trying to accomplish for the rest of the series. Now let's talk about the good things, or the things that I loved about this book. This book is, I feel like, the pinnacle or a great representation of why I love middle grade so much. First of all, in general, middle grade books tend to have more artsy and fancy covers, and this is absolutely no exception. Like, just look at that cover. It's so gorgeous. I love the color scheme. I love how Keith and Sylvanie are portrayed, and it's just really... This is probably one of my favorite book covers of all time, and I just absolutely love it. Aside from the cover, I just love this book so much for pretty much the same reasons as the first book. Like, it made me feel like a kid again. It made me feel so much nostalgia for the Chronicles of Narnia, or Nevermore even, the Land of Stories, all of which just made me feel so happy and giddy and just overall awesome inside. It had such a wonderful, magical sense of wonder to it that just made me feel like I could live as a 9 to 14-year-old forever. Probably not, but there it is. Had a lot of Harry Potter vibes, which again, I stand by what I said before. If you feel very strongly about not supporting J.K. Rowling anymore and you're looking for a story very similar in feel to Harry Potter, this is perfect for you. Or if not, you can try out Nevermore. I just absolutely love the overall feel of the story. It's just so magical. The found family trope is amazing. The friendships, okay, I'm just repeating what I've said in the first book review, but it still holds true for this book. Even though this book still had a lot of adventure, compared to the first book, I would say there's a little less adventure here and more exploration of the characters' emotions. There's still a lot of feels in this story. I reached the halfway point and I think I teared up. Like, I was on the verge of tears because the story was so sad, and it was sad for a long time, and I was just, really vulnerable and just wanted things to be okay again, and I was just really that invested into these characters. The ending was just the sweetest, most pure, joyful ending ever, and I realized that might not be to some people's taste. Like I said, one of my friends who was in the Middle Grade Madness group, they said that they didn't really like the ending because they're like, it's too easy, and it's like, it's too cliche, and I can kind of see some people not appreciating that, but maybe I was just in the right headspace or emotional situation to appreciate this, because I just absolutely loved the ending. I was so happy. and I almost shed happy tears, you know? Much like the first book, this book would be such a great Disney movie. I know there's a Disney movie for Keeper of the Lost Cities in the works. I'm not sure that they are gonna make it into a series. I kind of hope they do, but if they do, I hope they really make it a good adaptation with the right budget, with the right CGI, with the just everything that you need in a great movie, a great cast, hopefully. Reading this book, especially with all of the cliche elements, but with a few twists here and there, I feel like this is right up Disney's alley, and they cannot afford to ruin it, because if they make this adaptation a success, that is gonna bring a lot of coin. I am telling you, I am predicting it, but if it flops, it's over. It's over. It's gonna be over, and we're gonna pretend that that movie does not exist. Highly recommend this book, or this series in general, if you're looking for a comfort book, something that doesn't take a lot of brain power to process and just helps you feel comforted and uplifted and just have a lot of good vibes. I know I've rambled a lot, but that's just how I feel. If you want to see kind of my reactions to each of the characters by the end of this book, because I have very mixed feelings about each of the characters, and really strong ones too, you can add me on Goodreads. You can see my review over there. It's a little more comprehensive, but it's very similar to this video. But I'm just gonna say, I hate Fitz, and Fitz, I don't like him at all. Also, Bronte is the new Umbridge, people. Like, I hated Bronte. Like, he can be destroyed. A lot of people like Dex. I feel like I got more annoyed with Dex in this book because he's so possessive of Sophie. Like, he just wants Sophie all to himself, and he's just such a sad boy, which, I mean, at that age, that was very realistic, but I just didn't like it. And Keith, oh my gosh, I am Team Keith. We are Team Keith. Sylvain's Team Keith. We're all Team Keith. So if you're Team Keith, let me know in the comments, or if you're not, then let me know in the comments too, but don't expect me to cheer for you. I mean, whatever, I respect everyone's opinion. I think it goes without saying that I will be reading book 3, and I'm just really excited for the rest of the series. That is my review for Exile, the second book in the Keeper of the Lost Cities series by Shannon Messenger. Let me know in the comments all your thoughts about it. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please forget to subscribe so that you can do it later, and have a great day.